the Isle of Pines. Herman de Luce, a solitary figure residing near the Ohio town of Gallipolis, was an enigma wrapped in a mystery. His past was a tightly guarded secret, a blank canvas on which his neighbors painted their own interpretations. The whispers that swirled around him frequently pointed to a life spent as a pirate, a notion fueled by his intriguing collection of cutlasses, boarding pikes, and antique flintlock pistols. Yet, beyond this speculative evidence, his history remained shrouded in obscurity. De Luce lived alone in a ramshackle four-room house, perched on a hill overlooking a rugged, rocky field, which he attempted to cultivate with primitive methods. His meager farm hardly sustained him, but he always seemed to possess ready cash, paying for his purchases in the village stores with an air of casual indifference. He spread his patronage evenly amongst the shops, rarely patronizing the same one twice in succession, a behavior that only amplified the suspicions surrounding him. The townsfolk were convinced he was concealing a hidden fortune, ill-gotten gains buried somewhere within the crumbling walls of his home. The whispers of hidden treasure, a common theme in the region, clung to him like a shroud. Then, on the 9th of November, 1867, de Luce was found dead in his bed. His death appeared peaceful, his organs healthy, yet no one could discern the cause. The doctors, perplexed by the sudden silence of his heart, were unable to provide a definitive explanation. The coroner's jury, left with unanswered questions, attributed his death to a visitation of God, leaving the mystery to linger in the air. Despite the persistent whispers of buried wealth, the authorities found nothing of value when they searched his property. The house was secured, waiting for its inevitable sale to settle his estate. One night in November, a ferocious gale swept across the countryside, tearing down trees and unleashing a torrent of sleet. The storm raged with an unyielding ferocity, the likes of which the region had never witnessed. But as dawn broke, the wind subsided, revealing a bright, clear day. Reverend Henry Galbraith, a respected Lutheran minister, arrived at his home a mile and a half from de Luce's house. He had been in Cincinnati for a month, returning by steamboat. The previous evening, he had set out for home in a horse-drawn buggy, but the storm had forced him to seek shelter for the night. In the morning, he was forced to abandon his carriage due to fallen trees and continue his journey on foot. "Where did you spend the night?" his wife inquired, concerned by his exhausted appearance. "With old de Luce at the Isle of Pines," he laughed, his voice tinged with a mixture of amusement and unease. And it was a rather unpleasant experience. He wouldn't say a word to me. Robert Mosley Marin, a lawyer and writer, was present during this conversation. He noticed the surprised expressions on the faces of the family members. With an air of quiet amusement, he asked, "Why did you go into his house?" Galbraith explained that he'd seen a flickering light in the distance, and, lost and disoriented in the storm, had sought refuge. The house was dark, and when he knocked, no one answered, so he entered. He found a candle and lit it, but the door to the next room was locked. He heard de Luce's heavy footsteps moving around inside, but the old man wouldn't respond to his calls. He built a fire in the hearth, laid down on the floor, and tried to sleep. Suddenly, the door to the next room creaked open, and de Luce entered, carrying a candle. He seemed to be searching for something, but ignored Galbraith's greetings. He walked around the room and left just as silently as he'd come. This happened twice more before Galbraith drifted off to sleep. During the storm's lulls, he heard de Luce's footsteps echoing throughout the house. When Galbraith awoke the next morning, de Luce was gone. Marin, trying to make sense of the story, suggested Galbraith must have been dreaming, but the minister, while reluctant, couldn't entirely dismiss the strange events. The next night, Galbraith, Marin, and the minister's son found themselves standing in front of the Deleuze house once more. They saw a light flickering inside, moving from window to window. As they approached the door, a cacophony of terrifying sounds erupted from within. The clash of weapons, gunshots, screams, and moans. It was a chaotic scene of violence. They hesitated for a moment, frozen in fear. Then, Galbraith, a man of courage and impressive strength, slammed into the door, bursting it open. Inside, the house was dark and silent, save for the thundering of their hearts. Marin, a prepared man, produced matches and lit a candle. They began to explore the house, searching room by room. Everything was untouched, just as the authorities had left it. They discovered a back door slightly ajar and briefly entertained the notion that whoever had created the terrifying sounds had escaped. But when they stepped outside, the fresh snowfall was pristine, devoid of footprints. They entered the last room in the house, the one furthest from the road. Suddenly, the candle was extinguished, as if by a sudden draft of air. Almost immediately, a heavy thud resonated through the room. Hurriedly relighting the candle, they found the minister's son lying dead on the floor, clutching a heavy sack of coins in his hand. Later, the coins were identified as old Spanish gold. It was clear the bag had been taken from a secret compartment in the wall. Another inquest was held. Another post-mortem examination failed to provide a definitive cause of death. The coroner, unable to offer a plausible explanation, attributed the death to a visitation of God, leaving everyone to draw their own conclusions. Marin, ever the pragmatist, believed the young man had died from fright. The mystery of the Isle of Pines lingered. The haunting sounds, the disappearance of Deleuze, the hidden treasure, and the unexplained death of the minister's son created a chilling narrative, a testament to the enduring power of the supernatural, the enduring allure of mystery, and the unsettling truth that sometimes shadows lurk where they are least expected. The end. If you like the story, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Was there anything that surprised you? Who's your favorite character in the story? I can't wait to hear your thoughts.